The morning sun cast long shadows across the ancient stones of Windsor Castle as Captain Sarah Chen adjusted her ceremonial uniform one final time. The fabric felt strange against her skin after months in combat gear, but today's duty required the pomp and circumstance that Earth's remaining government still demanded. As the senior officer of the Terra Defense Corps' most decorated unit, she had been chosen to represent humanity's military might during the diplomatic reception. Sarah gazed through the tall windows of the guard room, watching as hover limousines began arriving in the castle's courtyard. The German president's motorcade had arrived precisely on schedule, followed by the ornate carriages that would transport King Charles and Queen Camilla to the ceremony. Despite everything that had happened over the past 5 years, the British monarchy still insisted on maintaining their traditions. Sarah supposed it gave people something familiar to hold on to during these uncertain times. The irony wasn't lost on her that she stood in a 1,000-year-old castle while wearing a uniform designed for fighting aliens among the stars. The Terra Defense Corps had been formed 3 years ago when the first scout ships appeared at the edge of the solar system. Since then, Sarah's unit had pushed the boundaries of human space farther than any previous generation had dreamed possible. "Captain Chen, they're requesting your presence in the reception hall," came the voice of Lieutenant Torres through her comm device. Sarah had hand-picked Torres for her team after watching the young woman single-handedly hold off a Zephyrian assault team during the Battle of Europa Station. Today, Torres was coordinating security for the event, a task that seemed almost mundane after their recent experiences. Sarah made her way through the castle's corridors, her military boots echoing against the stone floors. Portraits of long-dead monarchs gazed down at her as she passed, their painted eyes seeming to judge this modern warrior who carried the hopes of humanity on her shoulders. The weight of her sidearm felt reassuring against her hip, even though today's threats would likely come from political missteps rather than plasma rifles. The reception hall buzzed with quiet conversation as diplomats and dignitaries mingled beneath crystal chandeliers. Sarah spotted President Mueller immediately. The German leader's reputation for direct communication had made her popular among the Terra Defense Corps officers. Unlike many politicians, Mueller had spent time aboard the orbital defense stations, seeing firsthand what humanity faced among the stars. King Charles approached Sarah with the measured pace that came from decades of royal duty. Despite being in his 70s, the king had adapted remarkably well to the new realities of interstellar politics. His weekly briefings with Terra Defense Corps Command had given him a deeper understanding of military strategy than most career officers possessed. "Captain Chen," the king said, extending his hand, "I trust the preparations for today's ceremony are proceeding smoothly." Sarah clasped his hand firmly, nodding the genuine warmth in his eyes. "Yes, Your Majesty. Lieutenant Torres has confirmed that all security protocols are in place. We've also received word that Admiral Harrison's fleet has completed their patrol of the outer system." Queen Camilla joined them, her presence bringing an air of calm efficiency that Sarah had learned to appreciate during previous state functions. The Queen had taken a particular interest in the welfare programs for Terra Defense Corps families, understanding that soldiers fought better when they knew their loved ones were cared for. "Captain, I wanted to personally thank you for accommodating our request to maintain the traditional ceremonial aspects of today's event," Queen Camilla said. "I know it may seem frivolous given the current circumstances, but these ceremonies serve an important purpose for public morale." Sarah nodded respectfully. "Not frivolous at all, Your Majesty. My soldiers understand the value of tradition and ceremony. It reminds us what we're fighting to preserve." President Mueller approached their group, her aide trailing slightly behind with a tablet displaying real-time updates from the German Space Command. Sarah had worked with German forces during the liberation of the Titan mining colonies, and she held tremendous respect for their tactical efficiency and technological innovations. "Captain Chen," President Mueller said in her accented English, "I was hoping to speak with you about the recent developments in the Vega system. My military advisors tell me your unit played a crucial role in establishing the new defense perimeter." Sarah glanced at King Charles, who gave an almost imperceptible nod. While the details of Terra Defense Corps operations remained classified, certain information could be shared with Allied leaders during formal diplomatic exchanges. "The Vega operation demonstrated the effectiveness of combined Earth forces, Madam President," Sarah replied carefully. German engineering teams were instrumental in establishing the quantum communication relays that now allow real-time coordination across 12 light years. The German president's eyes lit up with genuine interest. The quantum relay technology represents a significant breakthrough. My scientists tell me it may revolutionize not just military communications, but civilian applications as well. Sarah smiled slightly. That's above my pay grade, Madam President. I just make sure the equipment works when we need it most. King Charles chuckled at Sarah's response. Captain Chen has a talent for understatement. The reports I've read suggest her unit's actions in the Vega system saved thousands of lives and secured our most distant outpost. The conversation was interrupted by the arrival of the Lord Chamberlain, who announced that the formal ceremony would begin in 15 minutes. The assembled dignitaries began moving toward the throne room, their movements coordinated by palace staff who had perfected these choreographed events over centuries. Sarah fell into step beside President Mueller as they proceeded through the castle's grand corridors. The German leader had requested this private moment, and Sarah suspected she knew what topics would be discussed. Captain, I must ask about the rumors regarding contact with non-hostile alien species, President Mueller said quietly. My intelligence services have compiled reports suggesting that not all extraterrestrial contact has been adversarial. Sarah chose her words carefully. The Terra Defense Corps maintains protocols for all possible contact scenarios, Madam President. Our primary mission remains the defense of human space and Earth itself. President Mueller nodded, understanding the diplomatic language. Of course, but if circumstances were to change, if new opportunities for peaceful contact were to arise, Germany would want to be involved in any diplomatic initiatives. I'll make sure Admiral Harrison receives your message, Sarah replied. The Terra Defense Corps values all Allied contributions to our mission. They entered the throne room, where the ceremony would formalize the continued alliance between Earth's remaining nation-states. Despite the grandeur of the setting, Sarah's mind remained focused on the tactical situation developing in the outer system. Her unit would deploy again within the week, this time to investigate anomalous signals detected near the edge of human space. The ceremony itself proceeded with the precision that centuries of royal protocol had perfected. Sarah stood at attention as King Charles and Queen Camilla received President Mueller in the formal manner that international law still required. The words spoken were ancient, but their meaning had evolved to encompass humanity's expansion into the cosmos. As the formal pronouncements concluded, Sarah felt her calm device vibrate with an urgent message. She glanced at the display discreetly, noting that it came from Admiral Harrison herself. The message was brief but carried significant implications. Anomalous contacts confirmed, deployment moved up 12 hours, briefed the king immediately after ceremony. Sarah maintained her ceremonial posture while her mind raced through the tactical implications. Whatever was happening in the outer system had accelerated beyond their previous estimates. The diplomatic niceties of Earth would soon give way to the harsh realities of interstellar conflict. The reception continued around her, but Sarah's focus had already shifted to the challenges ahead. Her unit would need to be ready for anything, and the stakes had never been higher. The ceremony at Windsor Castle might be one of the last peaceful moments Earth would experience for quite some time. As the formal proceedings drew to a close, Sarah caught King Charles's eye and gave him the subtle signal they had agreed upon for urgent military matters. The king's expression didn't change, but she saw him acknowledge her message. Within the hour, she would be briefing Earth's leadership on humanity's next great challenge among the stars. The ancient stones of Windsor Castle had witnessed centuries of history, but nothing quite like the moment when a battle-tested space captain received orders that would determine the fate of human civilization. Sarah Chen stood ready to answer the call, just as countless soldiers had done before her within these same walls. The secure briefing room beneath Windsor Castle felt worlds away from the ceremonial grandeur above. Captain Sarah Chen stood before a holographic display showing the outer reaches of the solar system, her uniform jacket removed and sleeves rolled up as she prepared to deliver the most important briefing of her career. King Charles, Queen Camilla, and President Mueller sat at the oval table, their faces grave as they absorbed the implications of Admiral Harrison's latest intelligence reports. The signals we've been monitoring aren't random, Sarah began, manipulating the holographic controls to highlight specific sectors of space. Our analysis teams have identified patterns that suggest coordinated movement of massive objects beyond Pluto's orbit. We're dealing with a fleet that dwarfs anything we've encountered before. President Mueller leaned forward, studying the tactical display with the intensity of someone who understood military logistics. How massive are we talking about, Captain? My Space Command reports suggest the previous Zephyrian incursions involved roughly 50 vessels at most. Sarah's expression remained steady despite the weight of her next words. Conservative estimates put this new force at over 300 ships, Madam President. Some of the larger vessels appear to be the size of small moons. We're not just facing another raiding party. King Charles absorbed this information with the calm that came from years of receiving difficult news. What do we know about their intentions? Are these the same species we've been fighting, or are we dealing with a new threat? That's where things get complicated, Your Majesty, Sarah replied, calling up a new set of displays. The signal patterns don't match any known Zephyrian technology. Our xenobiology teams believe we're looking at either a completely different species, or the Zephyrians have acquired new technology from somewhere else. Queen Camilla had been quietly studying the reports on her tablet throughout the presentation. Her background in social work had given her unexpected insights into conflict resolution that had proven valuable during previous crises. Captain, have there been any attempts at communication from this new force? Sarah paused, considering how much classified information she could share even with Earth's highest leadership. There have been transmissions, Your Majesty. Our cryptography teams are still working to decode them, but the mathematical structures suggest a level of sophistication that exceeds our current understanding. The implications hung heavy in the room's recycled air. President Mueller broke the silence with typical German directness. What are our options, Captain? Can the Terra Defense Corps handle a force of this magnitude? Honestly, Sarah met the president's gaze without flinching. Not with conventional tactics. Our current fleet strength maxes out at about 80 vessels, and most of those are designed for patrol and reconnaissance rather than major fleet engagements. We'd be outgunned 5-1, assuming their technology levels are comparable to ours. King Charles studied the tactical display with the analytical mind that had served him well during his decades of military briefings. But you have a plan, don't you, Captain? I can see it in your posture. You're not here just to deliver bad news. Sarah allowed herself a slight smile. You know me well, Your Majesty. Admiral Harrison has authorized me to brief you on Operation Longbow. It's our contingency plan for exactly this type of scenario. The holographic display shifted to show the Terra Defense Corps' most advanced vessels, including several ship classes that none of the assembled leaders had seen before. Sarah's fingers danced across the controls, highlighting specific technological capabilities that had been developed in absolute secrecy. For the past 18 months, our engineering teams have been working on next-generation weapon systems based on recovered alien technology, Sarah explained. We've successfully reverse-engineered Zephyrian plasma containment systems and adapted them to human manufacturing capabilities. President Mueller's eyes widened as she studied the technical specifications. These plasma yields are enormous. A single shot from one of these weapons could destroy a city. Or punch through the shields of an alien dreadnought, Sarah confirmed. But that's not our primary advantage. Human engineering has always excelled at making technology more efficient and more adaptable than the original designers intended. Queen Camilla looked up from her tablet with a thoughtful expression. Captain, what you're describing sounds like you're planning to take the fight to them rather than defending our current positions. Sarah nodded approvingly. Exactly, Your Majesty. Human military doctrine has always emphasized mobility and initiative. We can't match them ship for ship, but we don't have to. We just need to convince them that fighting humans costs more than it's worth. King Charles leaned back in his chair, processing the strategic implications. You're talking about asymmetric warfare on an interstellar scale, hit-and-run tactics against a numerically superior force. With some significant advantages, Sarah continued, bringing up new displays showing human settlements throughout the solar system. We know this terrain better than any invader possibly could. Every asteroid belt, every moon, every orbital station can serve as either a supply depot or a launching point for our operations. The briefing was interrupted by the arrival of Lieutenant Torres, who entered the secure room carrying an encrypted communication pad. Sarah could tell from her aide's expression that the situation had evolved again. "Captain Admiral Harrison requests immediate conference with you and the assembled leadership," Torres announced formally. "Priority Alpha classification." Sarah activated the room's secure communications array, and Admiral Harrison's image appeared on the main screen. The Admiral's weathered face showed the strain of commanding humanity's most distant forces, but her voice remained steady and professional. "Your Majesty, Madam President," Admiral Harrison began with a respectful nod. "I'm afraid our timeline has accelerated again. The alien fleet has begun moving toward the inner system. We estimate they'll reach Titan's orbit within 72 hours. The silence in the room was deafening. President Mueller was the first to speak. "Admiral, are you saying we have 3 days to implement whatever plan Captain Chen has outlined?" "Actually, Madam President, we have less than that," Admiral Harrison replied grimly. "Captain Chen's unit needs to deploy within 18 hours if they're going to reach the intercept point in time, which brings me to the other reason for this call." Sarah felt her stomach tighten as she recognized the look in her commanding officer's eyes. Whatever Admiral Harrison was about to say would change everything. "The signals we've been monitoring aren't just movement patterns," the Admiral continued. "Our best cryptographers have managed to decode portions of the alien transmissions. They're not here to raid our colonies or steal our resources." King Charles spoke the question everyone was thinking. "What are they here for, Admiral?" "They're here to negotiate," Admiral Harrison replied, her words falling like bombs in the quiet room. "The transmissions indicate they want to establish formal diplomatic contact with Earth's government. The problem is, they're bringing enough firepower to destroy our entire civilization if the negotiations don't go their way." President Mueller absorbed this revelation with typical German pragmatism. "So we're facing either the beginning of interstellar diplomacy or the end of human independence." Sarah felt the weight of command settling on her shoulders like a familiar burden. Her unit wouldn't just be engaging in combat operations. They would be humanity's first line of defense during the most important diplomatic contact in human history. "Captain Chen," Admiral Harrison addressed her directly through the comm link. "Your mission parameters have changed. Operation Longbow is now a diplomatic escort mission. You'll be making contact with the alien fleet and ensuring that any negotiations occur under terms favorable to human interests." Sarah straightened to attention despite being in the presence of Earth's highest civilian leadership. "Understood, Admiral. My unit will be ready for deployment within 12 hours." As the communication ended, Sarah looked around the room at the faces of the people who would guide humanity through the coming crisis. Their expressions showed the same mixture of determination and uncertainty that she had seen in countless soldiers before their first combat deployment. "Ladies and gentlemen," Sarah said quietly, "we're about to find out whether humanity is ready to take its place among the stars, or whether we'll be remembered as the species that couldn't adapt when it mattered most." The launch bay of Terra Station buzzed with controlled chaos as Captain Sarah Chen's unit prepared for the most critical deployment in human history. Technicians swarmed over the sleek hull of the TDS Defiant, installing last-minute upgrades that could mean the difference between successful first contact and interstellar war. Sarah watched her team's preparations with the practiced eye of a commander who had learned to trust her soldiers' expertise above all else. Lieutenant Torres approached carrying a sealed equipment case that bore the highest security classifications. Her usual professional demeanor carried an extra edge of tension that Sarah recognized from their previous high-stakes missions. "Captain, the diplomatic package from Earth Command arrived 20 minutes ago. Admiral Harrison's personal authorization." Sarah accepted the case, feeling its unexpected weight. Whatever Earth's leadership wanted her to carry to the alien fleet, they considered it important enough to risk sending it aboard a ship heading into potential combat. "Any word on our escort ships?" "The Prometheus and the Valkyrie will rendezvous with us at Jupiter Station," Torres replied, consulting her tactical display. "Commander Rodriguez reports both ships fully loaded with the new plasma torpedo configurations. If diplomacy fails, we'll have enough firepower to make them regret underestimating human engineering." Sarah nodded approvingly. Rodriguez had proven herself during the siege of Europa, turning a desperate defensive action into a tactical victory through sheer audacity and superior knowledge of asteroid belt dynamics. Having her commanding the escort vessels provided significant reassurance for the mission ahead. The ship's intercom crackled to life with Chief Engineer Kowalski's distinctive Polish accent. "Captain, we've finished installing the quantum communication array. You'll have real-time contact with Earth Command throughout the mission. Also got those new shield generators online. They're running about 15% more efficient than specifications promised." Sarah smiled at her chief engineer's eternal optimism about human technology. Kowalski had joined the Terra Defense Corps after spending 2 decades designing mining equipment for the outer colonies. His practical approach to engineering problems had saved their lives more times than Sarah could count. "Outstanding work, Chief. How long until we can clear the station?" "Give me another 30 minutes to run final systems checks," Kowalski replied. "Want to make sure everything works perfectly when we need it most." Sarah moved through the ship's corridors, conducting her own informal inspection of the crew's readiness. She found Sergeant Martinez in the armory, checking the new plasma rifles that Earth Command had rushed into production. The weapons represented a significant leap forward in portable firepower, but they remained largely untested in actual combat conditions. "How do they handle, Sergeant?" Sarah asked, accepting one of the rifles for examination. Martinez hefted another rifle with the familiarity of someone who had carried weapons through 2 decades of military service. "Better balanced than the old models, Captain. Power output is impressive, but I'm concerned about the recharge cycles. These beauties need a full minute between maximum power shots." "So we better make sure our first shots count," Sarah observed, handing the weapon back. Martinez had earned her sergeant's stripes during the asteroid belt campaigns, where ammunition conservation often meant the difference between mission success and spacing your entire team. Sarah's comm device chimed with an incoming message from Admiral Harrison. The transmission carried priority coding that required immediate attention in the captain's quarters. Sarah sealed herself in the small but functional space that served as both office and private retreat during long missions. Admiral Harrison's image appeared on the secure communication screen, her expression carrying the weight of decisions that would affect human civilization for generations. "Captain Chen, I wanted to brief you personally on intelligence developments that couldn't be shared during the Windsor meeting." Sarah settled into her command chair, recognizing the tone that preceded classified revelations. "Go ahead, Admiral." "The alien fleet isn't just here for first contact," Harrison continued. "Our deep space monitoring stations have detected similar fleets moving toward 12 other star systems. This appears to be a coordinated expansion by a species we've never encountered before." The implications hit Sarah immediately. They're not just making contact with Earth, they're establishing themselves as the dominant power in this region of space. "Exactly," the Admiral confirmed. "Which means the negotiations you're about to conduct will determine whether humanity becomes a client species or maintains its independence. The diplomatic package you're carrying contains our initial offer for technological exchange and mutual defense agreements." Sarah absorbed this information, feeling the weight of responsibility settling deeper on her shoulders. "Admiral, what are our fallback options if diplomacy fails?" Harrison's expression grew even more serious. "Captain, if these negotiations fail, Earth Command has authorized the implementation of Protocol 7. Every human settlement beyond Earth's orbit will evacuate to predetermined defensive positions. We'll make them fight for every planet, every moon, every asteroid." Protocol 7 represented the Terra Defense Corps' ultimate contingency plan, a fighting withdrawal that would make any alien conquest of human space prohibitively expensive. Sarah had helped develop the protocol, but she had never imagined circumstances would require its implementation. "Understood, Admiral. My team won't let you down." "I know you won't, Sarah," Harrison replied, using her first name for perhaps the only time in their professional relationship. "But remember, your primary mission is to return with accurate intelligence about their capabilities and intentions. Don't be a hero if it means we lose our best source of information about what we're facing." The communication ended, leaving Sarah alone with the magnitude of her mission. She had trained for combat operations, reconnaissance missions, and rescue scenarios, but nothing had prepared her for serving as humanity's first interstellar diplomat. A gentle vibration through the ship's hull indicated that the Defiant had cleared Terra Station's docking clamps. Sarah made her way to the bridge, where Lieutenant Torres was coordinating with traffic control for their departure vector. The main screen showed Earth growing smaller as they accelerated toward their rendezvous with the alien fleet. "Course laid in for Jupiter Station, Captain," reported Navigator Walsh, a young officer whose skill with orbital mechanics had earned her a place on Sarah's team despite having less combat experience than typical crew members. "Estimated travel time 18 hours at maximum sustainable acceleration." Sarah took her position in the command chair, feeling the familiar comfort of being surrounded by her trusted team. "Take us to General Quarters, Lieutenant Torres. I want all systems at peak readiness before we make contact." The bridge's lighting shifted to the red-tinted illumination that indicated combat readiness. Around the ship, Sarah's crew moved through well-practiced routines that transformed the Defiant from a transport vessel into a fighting machine. Every system was checked, every weapon was charged, every contingency was prepared for. "Captain," communications specialist Kim announced from her station, "I'm detecting quantum communication traffic from the alien fleet. They're using mathematical progressions that suggest they're expecting us." Sarah studied the communication patterns on Kim's display. The signals showed a level of sophistication that confirmed Earth Command's analysis about their technological capabilities. These weren't primitive raiders armed with captured weapons. They were representatives of an advanced civilization. "Can you establish two-way communication?" "Working on it, Captain," Kim replied, her fingers dancing across her console. "Their transmission protocols are unlike anything in our databases, but there are mathematical constants that should be universal." The next few minutes would determine whether Sarah's mission proceeded as planned, or whether the Terra Defense Corps would need to implement its most desperate contingency plans. As the Defiant accelerated toward humanity's first formal contact with an alien civilization, Sarah felt the weight of every human life depending on the success of her mission. Through the bridge's main view screen, Jupiter appeared as a growing disk of swirling clouds and storm systems. Somewhere beyond that giant planet, an alien fleet waited to determine humanity's fate among the stars. Sarah Chen had faced impossible odds before, but never with the survival of her entire species hanging in the balance. Her crew moved around her with quiet efficiency, each person focused on the tasks that would determine whether humanity emerged from this encounter as equals or as conquered subjects. Sarah had trained them well, but the coming hours would test every skill they had learned and every bond of trust they had forged. The alien fleet hung in space beyond Jupiter like a constellation of impossibly large stars, each vessel dwarfing the largest human constructions. Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the TDS Defiant, studying the tactical displays that showed over 300 ships arranged in formations that spoke of both immense power and disciplined military organization. The sight would have been overwhelming if not for the months of preparation that had led to this moment. "Range to the nearest vessel is 50,000 kilometers and closing," Navigator Walsh reported, her voice steady despite the historic nature of their approach. "The formation is maintaining position, but I'm detecting active scanning from multiple sources." Lieutenant Torres moved between stations, coordinating the crew's response to what appeared to be the most comprehensive sensor sweep in human military experience. "Captain, they're using scanning technologies that our equipment can barely detect. Chief Kowalski reports our shields are holding, but these scans are unlike anything we've encountered before." Sarah studied the tactical display with the analytical mind that had made her one of Terra Defense Corps' most effective commanders. The alien formation showed clear evidence of advanced strategic thinking, with escort vessels positioned to protect larger ships while maintaining overlapping fields of fire that could devastate any attacking force. "Communications, what's our status on establishing contact?" Specialist Kim looked up from her console with an expression that mixed excitement with professional concern. "Captain, I've managed to establish a basic mathematical dialogue using prime number sequences. They responded with increasingly complex mathematical proofs, suggesting they're testing our intellectual capabilities." The implications weren't lost on Sarah. First contact protocols had always assumed that initial communication would focus on peaceful intentions and basic information exchange. The aliens appeared to be conducting an intelligence assessment before proceeding with formal dialogue. "Send them our standard first contact package," Sarah ordered. "Mathematical constants, basic physics equations, and the diplomatic codes that identify us as representatives of Earth's government. The bridge fell silent as Kim transmitted humanity's formal introduction to interstellar civilization. Sarah felt the weight of history pressing down on her shoulders as she realized that the next few minutes would determine whether humans would be welcomed as equals or dismissed as primitives unworthy of serious consideration. "Captain," Kim announced with barely controlled excitement, "they're responding with what appears to be a formal communication protocol. I'm detecting linguistic patterns that suggest they're attempting to establish a common vocabulary." Sarah's comm device chimed with an incoming message from Commander Rodriguez aboard the escort vessel Prometheus. The message carried the tactical updates that would determine their response if diplomacy failed catastrophically. "Captain Chen, I have eyes on the alien fleet's heavy cruisers," Rodriguez reported through the secure channel. "Our tactical analysis suggests their primary weapons are energy-based, but the power signatures are beyond anything in our experience. If shooting starts, we'll need to rely on speed and maneuverability rather than direct confrontation." Sarah acknowledged the report while maintaining her focus on the communication efforts proceeding at Kim's station. The delicate balance between diplomatic readiness and combat preparation required constant attention to both political and military considerations. "Captain," Torres announced, "I'm receiving priority communication from Earth Command. Admiral Harrison wants real-time updates on all contact protocols." Sarah activated the quantum communication link that connected the Defiant directly to Terra Station's command center. Admiral Harrison's image appeared on her personal display, accompanied by data streams that showed Earth's military forces moving to full readiness status. "Captain, what's your assessment of their intentions?" the Admiral asked without preamble. "They appear to be conducting formal first contact procedures, Admiral," Sarah replied carefully. "No hostile actions detected, but they're clearly evaluating our capabilities before proceeding with substantive communication." Admiral Harrison nodded grimly. "Sarah, I need you to understand that the stakes have escalated again. Our deep space monitors have detected additional alien fleets moving toward human settlements in the Alpha Centauri system. Whatever happens in the next few hours will determine how humanity responds to what appears to be a coordinated contact effort." The revelation hit Sarah like a physical blow. The alien presence wasn't limited to Earth's solar system. It represented a comprehensive approach to establishing contact with human civilization across multiple star systems simultaneously. "Captain," Kim's voice cut through Sarah's conversation with Admiral Harrison, "I'm receiving what appears to be a formal communication request. They're asking for a direct meeting between ship commanders." Sarah felt her pulse quicken as she realized that the moment of truth had arrived. "Can you establish real-time translation?" "Working on it," Kim replied, her fingers flying across linguistic analysis programs. "Their communication structure is unlike anything in our databases, but there are logical patterns that suggest we can establish basic understanding." Sarah made the decision that would define humanity's entry into interstellar politics. Accept their communication request, route it to the main screen. The bridge's primary display flickered before resolving into an image that would be burned into Sarah's memory for the rest of her life. The alien commander appeared humanoid in basic structure, but possessed features that spoke of evolution under different environmental pressures. Its skin showed a subtle iridescence that shifted colors based on what Sarah suspected were emotional or intellectual states. "I am Captain Sarah Chen of the Terra Defense Corps, representing Earth's government," Sarah announced formally, hoping that their translation protocols would convey both respect and strength. The alien commander's response came through their translation systems with surprising clarity. "I am Fleet Commander Zarthek of the Galactic Assembly. We have observed your species' expansion into space with great interest. Humanity's technological progress and military capabilities suggest you may be ready for membership in our civilization." The implications of the alien's statement sent shockwaves through Sarah's understanding of the situation. They weren't facing conquest or subjugation. They were being evaluated for membership in some larger galactic organization. "Commander Zarthek," Sarah replied carefully, "humanity appreciates your interest in our development. We would welcome the opportunity to learn more about the Galactic Assembly and what membership would entail." The alien commander's skin shifted through several color patterns that Sarah suspected indicated consideration of her response. Your species has demonstrated remarkable adaptability and military effectiveness in your conflicts with the Zephyrian raiders. The assembly requires member species to possess both technological capability and the strength to defend their territories. Sarah realized that humanity's previous battles against alien raiders had served as a testing ground, evaluating human military capabilities for some larger purpose. Are you saying that the Zephyrian attacks were part of an evaluation process? The Zephyrians are a client species of the Assembly, Zarthek confirmed. Their raids tested your defensive capabilities and technological adaptiveness. Your performance exceeded our projections in several key areas. The revelation transformed Sarah's understanding of every battle her unit had fought over the past 3 years. Human forces hadn't just been defending their territory. They had been demonstrating their worthiness for membership in an interstellar civilization. Captain, Torres whispered urgently, Earth Command is requesting immediate tactical assessment of this development. Sarah held up a hand to delay her response to Earth while maintaining her focus on the alien commander. The next few minutes would determine whether humanity entered galactic civilization as equals or as junior members dependent on alien protection. Commander Zarthek, what would membership in the Galactic Assembly require from humanity? The alien commander's response would reshape human civilization forever. Commander Zarthek's response came through the translation systems with a gravity that made every person on the Defiance Bridge hold their breath. Membership in the Galactic Assembly requires 3 commitments: defense of Assembly space against external threats, technological contribution to collective advancement, and adherence to the covenant of coexistence that governs interactions between member species. Captain Sarah Chen processed this information while simultaneously managing data streams from Earth Command and tactical updates from her escort vessels. The weight of speaking for all humanity in this moment felt heavier than any combat mission she had ever undertaken. Commander, could you elaborate on these requirements? Humanity needs to understand the full scope of what membership would involve before we can provide an informed response. The alien commander's iridescent skin shifted through patterns that Sarah was beginning to recognize as indicators of thoughtful consideration. Your species has already demonstrated defensive capabilities that exceed assembly minimum standards. The Zephyrian evaluation campaigns confirmed that human military forces can adapt quickly to new threats and develop innovative tactical solutions. Lieutenant Torres approached Sarah's command position with a data pad showing real-time analysis from Earth's xenobiology teams. The information suggested that the color shifts in the alien commander's skin served as both emotional indicators and a form of secondary communication channel. The technological contribution requirement, Zarthek continued, involves sharing innovations that benefit all Assembly members while receiving access to collective scientific knowledge spanning dozens of civilizations. Your species' engineering adaptability would be particularly valuable to our materials science and defensive systems development. Sarah felt a surge of pride in human technological achievements, even as she recognized the enormous implications of potential access to alien scientific knowledge. And the covenant of coexistence. The covenant establishes protocols for peaceful interaction between species with different biological and cultural requirements, the commander explained. It prohibits territorial expansion through conquest, requires diplomatic resolution of conflicts between member species, and maintains strict guidelines for interaction with developing civilizations. The irony wasn't lost on Sarah that humanity was being offered protection from the very type of aggressive expansion that human history was filled with. Commander Zarthek, what happens if humanity chooses not to seek membership at this time? The alien commander's skin shifted to darker tones that Sarah suspected indicated seriousness or warning. Non-member species in this region of space have historically faced pressure from the hegemony, an aggressive alliance that views expansion through conquest as legitimate policy. The Assembly exists partially to provide collective defense against hegemony territorial ambitions. Sarah's comm device vibrated with an urgent message from Admiral Harrison. The text was brief, but carried enormous implications. Intelligence confirms additional alien fleets moving toward human colonies. Need immediate assessment of their offer. Captain, Communications Specialist Kim announced quietly. I'm detecting quantum communication traffic between the alien fleet and sources outside our solar system. They appear to be reporting on our conversation in real time. The revelation that their diplomatic exchange was being monitored by unknown parties added another layer of complexity to an already unprecedented situation. Sarah realized that her next words would be evaluated by multiple alien civilizations, each with their own agenda regarding humanity's future. Commander Zarthek, if humanity were to pursue membership in the Assembly, what would the timeline and process involve? Full membership requires a probationary period of 50 standard years, the commander replied. During this time, your species would receive limited access to Assembly technology and protection from external threats, while demonstrating your commitment to Covenant principles. Sarah calculated quickly in her head. 50 years would span multiple human generations, but it represented a relatively short period for establishing humanity's place among the stars. Would humanity retain sovereignty over our current territories during this probationary period? Absolutely, Zarthek confirmed. The Assembly does not practice territorial absorption. Member species maintain complete sovereignty within their established borders while contributing to collective defense and scientific advancement. The bridge fell silent as Sarah weighed the most important decision in human history. Earth Command was depending on her assessment to guide their response, while an alien fleet capable of destroying human civilization waited for humanity's answer. Commander, Sarah said finally, I need to consult with Earth's leadership before providing a formal response. Could we establish a direct communication link between your fleet and Earth Command? The alien commander's skin brightened in what Sarah hoped indicated approval. That arrangement would be appropriate for formal diplomatic negotiations. Fleet Communications Officer Myrtle will coordinate the establishment of proper diplomatic channels. Sarah felt a weight lift from her shoulders as she realized that the immediate pressure of speaking for all humanity had been transferred to proper diplomatic authorities. Her mission had succeeded beyond all expectations. Not only had first contact been achieved peacefully, but humanity had been offered a path to join a galactic civilization. Captain, Torres announced, Admiral Harrison is requesting immediate tactical debriefing. Also, we're receiving priority messages from King Charles and President Mueller requesting status updates. Sarah smiled slightly as she imagined the diplomatic scrambling occurring throughout Earth's governments as they processed the implications of galactic membership. The ceremony at Windsor Castle seemed like it had occurred months ago rather than mere hours. Commander Zarthek, it has been an honor to represent humanity in this historic first contact. I look forward to the diplomatic exchanges that will determine our species' future among the stars. The alien commander's response carried what the translation systems rendered as formal respect. Captain Chen, your species' combination of military capability and diplomatic restraint suggests that humanity will make valuable contributions to the Assembly. We await your government's formal response. As the communication link closed, Sarah felt the magnitude of what had just occurred settling over her like a comfortable weight. Her unit had achieved something unprecedented in human history. Peaceful first contact with an advanced alien civilization that offered partnership rather than conquest. Navigator Walsh, set course for Earth, Sarah ordered, feeling the anticipation of delivering the most important intelligence report in human military history. Maximum acceleration. Earth Command needs our full briefing as soon as possible. The Defiant began its acceleration toward home, carrying information that would reshape human civilization forever. Behind them, the alien fleet maintained its position near Jupiter, waiting for humanity's decision about its future among the stars. Sarah stood on her bridge, surrounded by the crew that had helped achieve the impossible. They had faced the unknown with courage and professionalism, representing the best qualities of human civilization during its most critical test. Whatever challenges lay ahead, she was confident that humanity had proven itself ready to take its place in the galaxy. The view screen showed Earth growing larger as they approached humanity's home world, where leaders waited to learn that their species had been invited to join something greater than they had ever imagined possible. The small blue planet had produced a species worthy of respect among the stars, and Captain Sarah Chen had been privileged to deliver that message to the galaxy.